Hey, pill poppers, Placebo here. Today I felt like I want to talk about something that I don't think gets out a lot. To start, when most people I know hear the words gag anime or gag manga, they usually can think of a comedy or some meme. Now, I don't know hundreds of people that watch anime, but it's clear we lost focus on what a true gag series is, as today's anime is focused on action and action romance. Though I'm not too disappointed, I do love all the titles I showed. Moving on, we'll define it. Let's start with gag in general. Apart from the restraint or gross action of the first definition, the second defines it as, noun-wise, a joke or an amusing story or scene, especially one forming part of a comedian's act or in a film or play, and the verb side is a person telling a joke. So, using that definition, it's pretty clear that to define an anime or manga as that of a gag one, we need to focus on those hearty laughs. After going through various sites, researching definitions on gag manga, I found something on r/weekly Shonen Jump. A redditor by the name of Conflict Driven posted with this first line going, "Gag manga tend to be very joke heavy," as in joke focused. I agree. This is a perfect definition. It should have ended there. However, he continues to go on, and he contradicts himself, outlining manga that are more action and story driven. Yeah, they're funny, and he gives a somewhat good argumentative stance, but they still venture way too far from their jokes. In the end, before dropping it, I found this reply by another Redditor by Flask T. He saves the day. Kindly and considerately, he goes that gag is not the same as comedy. Oh, perfect. That is the truth of gag anime, and we all need to know that. In case you're confused, to sum it all up, a gag anime is something that lays out a set of jokes. It's very episodic, usually, and focuses on those jokes and the randomness of everything. Yes, it can have a story, though, but that story is going to develop very slowly through inklings of little things that are put out throughout every episode. Now that we know this ancient knowledge, we can move on, starting our journey in a simpler time. It was the year 1976, and the mother of all gag manga, Kochikame, was beginning. After that year, it ran strong until 2016, 40 years later. And in those 40 years, in 2001, the widely beloved Bobobo came out. It became a staple for many others after it. Now, I'm not saying there weren't plenty of gag manga before then. Bobobo just seemed to pave the way in my eyes. Because since then, stuff like Gintama, Beelzebub, and many other popular gag manga and anime was released. Looking up the total amount today, Anime Planet says that 73,409 manga counted on the gag tag. However, that counts comedies as well, as Reincarnated as a Slime and Aharen are action and romance. Slime is obviously story driven when you've actually read and watched it, so I don't know why it has that label. And Aharen may be somewhat episodic, but it will take whole episodes/chapters developing the romance. I know because I love that series. Who knows how many other titles are just tagged with gag? So let's cut it by like half. May seem like a stretch, but that still only lowers it to a little bit above 36,000. Wow. Now, in the summer of 2010, with the help of Shonen Jump and author Shuichi Aso, one of those many mangas were born. The focus of the day. What you've been waiting for! My favorite gag anime of all time, The Disastrous Life of Saiki K. It had a rough concept, starting as odd one-shots, but turned into art later in 2012, when it grew to an entire series, revamping itself from the ground up. This anime revolves around a 16, later turned 17-year-old pink-haired boy named Kusuo Saiki, and, wouldn't you know it, he was born a psychic. He has telepathy, reading minds, telekinesis, moving stuff, teleportation, and a ton else. The only limits are caused by the dampeners on his head, made by his genius brother, and any fourth wall breaking limits in order to keep the story interesting. And I say fourth wall breaking because Psyche does, in fact, point them out to us. Yes, Psyche can see us and talk to us, but sadly, too fictional to interact with us. Although he has all these powers, Psyche doesn't want to be noticed. He just wants to live his life normally and eat coffee jelly. Oh, it sounds so good right now. Therefore, he hides his powers, even going to absurd lengths to do so. Sadly for him, though, he has an unnatural gift of charisma. Now, he lives his life trying to avoid the inevitable. Bonds of friendship and the crazy events they cause that he actually has to fix. Something I love about this anime is that his hair color was actually unusual when he was born, which is almost never the case. It's something that just happens that we normally don't question. We're like, oh, green hair and blue hair are both normal in this world? I guess I'll accept it. But in this case, it's not supposed to be. And it actually explains how it's normal now. Kusuo, as a hyper-intelligent baby, yeah, I know, right? Brainwashes the world to be more absurd and colorful, changing people's hair color and making anime tropes that we know and love, like people recovering from injuries super fast, normal. All this stuff is now completely normal, so then he blends in with everything. Psyche's manga got so popular that in 2014, he was featured in a widely renowned video game. It's one of my favorites, Jumpstar's Victory Versus, which actually got a remake for the PS4 as Victory Versus Plus. Fun fact, this game is actually one of the only fighting games to include a lineup of gag mangas, including some of those I mentioned before, like Kochikame, the mother of all gag mangas, Bobobo, and Gintama. In the later years, with Season 1 in 2016, Season 2 in 2018, and Netflix's revival of it in 2019, The Disastrous Life of Psyche got an anime, and this helped that beloved series reach the hearts of people all around. This anime sparked so much love, he even got a DS game that same year in 2016 and a mobile defense game in 2018 in Japan. So each season seemed to spark its own video game. Comparing the anime and the manga, they're pretty scene for scene. Any changes that were made to the anime was just to shuffle manga events to work around any of those chapters they didn't include. It's easy to assume after both watching the anime and reading the manga that the chapters that were taken out were not included simply to keep the character roster simpler. This is because with books, you can flip back and forth easily, saying, oh yeah, that guy, if you forgot. Which shows it's a lot more work to rewind, find the episode, find what part of the episode had this guy. So, of course they're going to remove a lot of characters if it's going to get too jumbled. However, the anime covers for this, and in an awesome way. They include some episodes with parts that break the fourth wall, multiple episodes that catch up to Psyche, talk about, hey guy, I missed you. I'm in the manga and not the anime, so it sucks that we couldn't meet. Which, I just have to say, this is an excellent way for the show to not only represent how beloved every small part and small character of the series is from the viewpoint of everybody working on it, and it's also a way to promote its manga without really being annoying. 10 out of 10. Okay, lastly, I want to cover that revival third season I mentioned that was by Netflix. When it was released, it was a bit jarring to me because it was there to fill in some stories that weren't included in the previous seasons. As I just said, a lot of chapters were taken out to lessen the roster. So now that the series ended at the end of season 2, they rewound a bit. They're like, okay, so here's some of the stories that you didn't see. Don't get me wrong, I still loved it. But since it's separated into those Netflix made TV shows area, away from the first and second seasons on Netflix, it makes me worry that some people may have been first exposed to Psyche that way. Since it starts off in the middle of things, people could have been like, what is this? This is just out of nowhere, and turned away from Psyche completely, not even knowing about the first 2 seasons that are the main story and that starts from the very beginning. Nonetheless, this is one of the small amount of good shows that Netflix slaps its logo on. And don't even get me started on that. The whole, we can slap our logo and greenlight trash live action stuff for views as long as we redeem ourselves with stuff like Disenchanted or JoJo Part 6 is just incredibly annoying. You have to scroll through so much trash just to dig out that needle in the trash haystack. Just overall, we've covered what a gag anime slash manga is, the history of a gag manga, and one of the best gag manga slash anime out there, The Disastrous Life of Psyche K. So, go check out Psyche K on Netflix, starting with the first 2 seasons, and if you don't have Netflix, figure it out for yourself. Alright, I hope you enjoyed. See you guys.